Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Frankie Corcoran, coming at you in my air-conditioned studio room. It feels insane. It is insane because I'm recording this during the insane heat wave that is currently ongoing here. Just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. It's about like plus 40. So if you hear the fan going, I have for those of you guys who are annoyed by the fan in these recent episodes, I apologize. But it's like I should just do these podcasts like outside or something. Maybe not today because it's way too hot. I was going to give a little disclaimer and say, hey guys, hope you all stay safe during this heat wave kind of thing. But then I realized that by the time this podcast comes out, there is going to be no heat wave. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get more as the summer goes on. But anyways, hope you guys survived it. And for the upcoming heat waves this summer that I'm sure we're going to get, stay safe. Don't go outside if you don't have to. And if you do go outside, just take all proper precautions. That's all I got to say. So thanks for tuning in, guys. If you're driving around, if you're listening to this, whether you're doing chores or you're listening to it like the radio, I always appreciate it. I just recently announced on our social media that we just hit 10,000 total views on this podcast, and I just want to thank everybody for just taking the time to listen to the show, because I'm real passionate about this stuff. I love doing it, and the fact that people do actually listen to it, that's just means the world to me. So thank you guys so much for continuing to support it, and we got a lot of stuff planned coming up. Also, Thursday Think Tank with Christian and friends. We're working on it. I know I do have some people asking about that. Scheduling and stuff like that. That's a huge thing. We still talk on the daily, and we got some big stuff planned. I can't say too much now, but just so you guys know, we haven't forgotten about that. It's just scheduling and all that stuff and just trying to get the time for it. So just stay tuned for it. We're going to update you guys as we get more news on it and when it's going to be back. And so anyways, so moving on to the show today, I'm very, very excited about my guest today. She is an award-winning, best-selling author, TV producer, media coach, ghostwriter, successful serial entrepreneur, Aurora Winter. Very, very excited to have her on. She has a book called Turn Words into Wealth, Blueprint for Your Business, Brand and Book to Create Multiple Streams of Income and Impact, which actually won Outstanding Nonfiction Book of the Year back in 2022. And she also wrote the fantasy trilogy Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, and that also won an award, Reader's Choice Best Teen Book in 2023. Been featured everywhere, ABC, multiple podcasts, CBC, TV, Hallmark Channel, you name it. Very honored to have her here today. We talk a lot about that stuff and, among other things, how to utilize your creativity and all that stuff. So, great conversation, and super honored to have her on here today. Later in the show, I am going to talk about how long I think the Knives Out movies could go on for, and whether Deadpool and Wolverine can save the MCU. So without further ado, guys, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast today. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Frankie Corcoran. Coming at you today, a little disclaimer. I think I might have touched it in the intro. My fan's going because it's like 40 degrees here, and I was like, I don't want that to interfere with the audio, but at the same time, I don't want to get heat stroke during this podcast, especially when I got an amazing guest. She is, my God, she's done everything. She's an author, TV producer, media coach, entrepreneur, everything. She just does everything there is. Aurora Winter. Aurora, how are you?
I'm awesome, Frankie. It's great to be on the show, and I look forward to helping the listeners turn their words into wealth, and who knows, maybe turn their book into a TV series or a movie.
Yes, absolutely. How's the weather up where you are, by the way? It's not plus 40, is it?
It's beautiful here. I'm in Vancouver, BC, Canada. I just got back from the Banff Media Festival, where I attended the media festival with several of my clients. I was pitching my books and my clients' books as film and television, and it was gorgeous there as well. Banff's in Alberta, Canada. So lovely weather. I don't have to have the fan on.
Yes. Oh, there we go. I might just maybe you know what? I'll stop this call and I'll just head up there and we can just do it in person. That'll make it much better because I can't stand this heat any longer. Are you more of a hot or cold? Do you prefer the heat or the cold weather?
I prefer the heat, actually. Yeah.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. I live half the time in Los Angeles, California. So
Oh, okay.
I love that. Yeah. Vancouver can be a bit rainy for me. Where are you based, Frankie?
I am in Miramichi, New Brunswick. I'm so
Brunswick.
so I'm another Canadian, just like are you Canadian too, or are
Yeah.
you?
I'm a dual citizen. I was born in the States, but I grew up in Canada. My whole family's Canadian, and I'm like just by happenstance, I happened to be born in Ames, Iowa, when my parents were studying at Iowa State University. So
Oh, geez, isn't that something? Wow. So, was it kind of a challenge, like trying to decide, like, do I want to, I have a dual citizenship. Do I want to stay in the States? Do I want to go to Canada? Was there kind of like a inner battle with yourself? Like, where do I go?
well, I actually lived in the States until COVID hit. And then I don't know if you remember, it seems like a distant memory now, but it was only 2020. And there was a threat that the border was going to close. I think they did close the border. And so I moved from the States back to Canada because I'm like, I don't know. Canada seems like a healthier place to be.
It
But now,
is.
yeah.
I mean, I don't have a dual citizenship, but I mean, like, even just being in the States a couple of times, I'm like, yeah, Canada's nice. I like going out and exploring and seeing the world. But then there's part of you, it's like, okay, I'm happy to be be Canadian. I'm appreciative of where I am. But so I mean, like you've done it all. Like you've done, I mean, like just going through your resume, it would be just that would be a book in and of itself. Like just listing all of your achievements. So first off, congratulations on all of that success. So how'd you kind of get started with, the whole business side of things?
Well, I guess I'm a very restless person. I think entrepreneurs solve problems at a profit. So I'm a problem solving person, whether I'm solving a creative problem in a book or a screenplay or solving the problem of how do I raise financing to launch a movie or solving some business problem. So I've always wanted to be a writer. I've been a writer since I was 9 years old. I never finished the first book I started at age 9, but it was nicely illustrated. And then later in life, I launched several different businesses, including launching a film and television production company with a partner in London, England. We raised $5 million on the EIS tax shelter scheme and made 8 films. I moved to Los Angeles during that period of time, and that's a great place to be if you're in the film business. And now, though, I primarily write books and help my clients write books that are best-selling, award-winning books that have the potential of being turned into film or television. So I've written 10 books. My most recent fantasy book, or my most recent book is a fantasy book. I've been written a bunch of nonfiction books, and I'm an award-winning screenwriter. But I wrote a trilogy. It's a fantasy series for young adults. It's called Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse is the name of the first book. It won the Reader's Choice Award, Best Book for Teens. It won the American Fiction Award, and it's won multiple other awards, including the UK Wishing Shelf Gold Finalist Award for Best Teen Book. And I'm launching the second book on that series on Kickstarter, just on the heels of this podcast. The second book's called The Secret Multiverse Academy, and the third one's coming out later this year. So that's a lot of words. And this exciting thing is when I was at Banff a couple of weeks ago, they expressed interest in turning the books into a TV series. So that relates to the entertainment part of this equation.
Wow, isn't that something? Wow. And you wrote the book when? Last year, 2023, the first book?
I started writing in, I guess I'm a slower writer than I'd like to be. I am a slower writer than I'd like to be. I started writing it in 2020. COVID was good for me in a way because it made me realize, Aurora, you said you wanted to write a book like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe since you were about 9 years old. And you've not been doing that. You've been writing nonfiction, you've been writing screenplays. What about that dream? So life is not necessarily guaranteed. We don't, none of us have tomorrow guaranteed. So I decided in 2020, COVID was a wake-up call that, oh yes, we don't have forever. So I better write that trilogy. And I have drafted all three books. The first one, as I said, has come out. The second one is coming out on Kickstarter, which is kind of fun. If people want to find out about that, it's at magicmysteryandthemultiverse.com. That redirects to the Kickstarter when the Kickstarter is live at the beginning of July. So magicmysteryandthemultiverse.com. That's one thing I learned about Kickstarter. So if you're going to do a Kickstarter, it's good to have your own URL that redirects to it, because Kickstarter is only in a short window of time, in my case, 17 days. So then you want to make sure that that URL is going somewhere useful after the
Yes,
Kickstarter.
exactly. You got to go somewhere, you know what I mean? Not just some random site.
Yeah. So as I'm doing podcasts, or I've got social media on TikTok, my TikTok handle is Aurora Fantasy Books. I'm blown away. My son, Yale Winter, is doing the most amazing artwork to make my TikTok look quite lively, and it's inspiring my writing. So I really appreciate that as well. But the fantasy books are cozy fantasy for young adults. So basically, if you or the listeners like, fast-paced, fun books that are full of action, but that are more on the cozy side, so not so horrific, not Stephen King, but more like Harry Potter or Doctor Who or the Inheritance games or Shadow and Bone, more that kind of thing. I think they would really, really enjoy it. And the Kickstarter also gives me an opportunity to provide extra things that aren't available anywhere else ever, like the chance to name a character or join some Zoom calls and connect with me directly and get this wonderful artwork that my son has done. Who knows, maybe even grab a poster or some other fun things. So the Kickstarter provides, these extra things that can add value. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing the Kickstarter, is to provide special, unique hardcover books that and extra things that people can't get anywhere else.
Wow. Oh, okay. Awesome. Awesome. And I've actually never done a Kickstarter before, so it's a kind of interesting to learn all about it. And so you just started doing them fairly recently, the Kickstarters? Like that's kind of something like you never really thought of before?
Exactly right, Frankie. Like I said, I guess I'm a restless person, so I always like to learn new things. In fact, a learner is one of my Gallup Strengths Finders, Clifton Strengths top 5 things. So yeah, I'm learning how to do the Kickstarter. I've written and published 10 books, but this is my very first Kickstarter. And it's exciting because it's a wonderful way to connect more with my readers, hopefully to create some new fans and add more value to my current fans. There's special things that I can provide on Kickstarter that you really can't do on Amazon or regular stores, like getting autographed books or bookmarks and things like that. One thing for the listeners, if they're ever considering doing a Kickstarter, it's very good if you already have a proof of concept, or if you've already got something that people like. It's not so appropriate if you just have an idea. But for example, I've already written The Secret Multiverse Academy. It's with a professional proofreader right now. It's an 80,000 word book, or it's about 420 pages. So it's like a done thing. And because the first book in the series has already won so many awards, people can read that sample. You can read a sample on the Kickstarter page, magicmysteryandthemultiverse.com. So that would be, reassuring for people who are not familiar with my work. So if you or the listeners are considering doing a Kickstarter, these are the fun things of it. You can add more value, do extra things, connect with people. So if you've got a book or any digital or physical product that has proof of concept, it could be something to consider. It's an additional marketing venue or additional distribution platform. So I'm going to also launch the book later on Amazon, but it will be exclusively available on Kickstarter as the special hardcover with all these special digital bonuses and extra bells and whistles. So Kickstarter wouldn't be good for the kind of business that's like a dental office or something that's very, local and hands-on. But if you have like people have made millions of dollars, not just with books, but with eyeglasses and watches and backpacks and all kinds of different physical items.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to raise money, that's for sure. But uh uh like just seeing like not just I mean like what you've done with the Kickstarters and stuff like that, but also that you have all the books like lined up and ready to go. You say the second book right now is with a proofreader, and that'll be coming out soon. And so what's it like when you're trying to balance out? I mean, how do you let the business side of things affect your creative, like your creative outlook on a certain project, like whether it's a book or whether it's a movie? Like, how do you let that not try to sway you in any way?
That's such a good question, Frankie. Here's what I did that worked for me on this fantasy series is I already have a business helping people, write, publish, and promote books and launch as thought leaders. And most of those authors are writing nonfiction books. And so rather than think of this new fantasy series in that same business-like manner, I thought, you know what, this is my art project. I'm going to put my heart into this, my soul into this. I wanted to write it since I was 9. I'm going to give myself permission to allocate. Like this morning, I wrote for a couple of hours. Yesterday, I wrote for 3 hours. Usually, I wrote 20 hours on the weekend. Like I'm spending a lot of time on it, but for me, that is honoring my creativity, honoring my soul. And I don't push the burden of having to make a bunch of money on these books. Who knows? I hope people will love them. Certainly, the first book has been very well received, but I choose to have the mindset of this is my art. Then, with the other books that I'm doing and with my clients' books, like we look at the numbers, we make sure we get the good ROI, we make sure that there's a business back end. I mean, I wrote a whole book about it. It's called Turn Words into Wealth. One of the things that really uh, was heavy on my heart is people would put, 3 years into writing a book. The average first-time author spends 3.5 years writing a book, and then they would give zero thought to launching the book or having a back end or having a website or wondering, once people have read their book, what would they want next? And the book, Turn Words into Wealth, shows 7 different ways to make 7 figures with a book. And so I share stories of myself and my clients, but also super famous people like David Goggins or Hillary Clinton or Seth Godin, and share how they actually monetize their books. So I think anybody who's interested in writing a book or has written a book and hasn't, cracked the code on monetizing it, I recommend that they read the book Turn Words into Wealth. There's 7 different models in there, and you can choose at least one to monetize your book. I'd be glad to give you more examples if that's something you want to explore.
Yes, absolutely. Well, like that's great because I do like the fact that uh it almost seems like you have the mindset of I do this because I love it. You know, art, writing, and stuff like that. That's just a huge passion. If you make money off it, great. If you don't make much, you know what? It's that's my passion. You know what I mean? Like that's what I really really like about. I think that's a good mindset for any artist. I mean, like, is that accurate that any artist, if you're whether it's music or it's theater or it's movies, at the end of the day, if you don't like doing what you're doing, like that's really gonna make or break it for you. Is that accurate?
Um, I think that's very close. What I believe is that we are all creative beings, or at least all the people I know are creative beings. And if we don't give ourselves permission to create, we kill part of ourselves. So I feel like it's really important to create, but that might show up like gardening or creating a beautiful dinner or creating a beautiful home, creating a beautiful child. For me, it shows up like creating something wonderful on the page. And in addition to that, I do not buy into the whole starving artist myth. I think that is an idea whose time has come to be flushed down the drain. So, one of the things I really believe in is yes, you need to earn a living. You need to be creative. That full stop, period, end of sentence. But point number 2, you need to earn a living. If you can combine those 2 things, wonderful. That's absolutely fantastic. So the book Turn Words into Wealth really strongly encourages people. Most nonfiction books solve a problem. My first book, nonfiction book, I thought, okay, that's it. I've solved the problem. people are not going to want any more. And I was kind of surprised when people wanted a lot more. And now I realize no matter what problem you are solving, certain people will want more. Some people will want to come to events, they'll want one-on-one coaching with you, they'll want consulting, they'll want a mastermind group, they'll want your next book, they'll want a workbook, they'll want videos explaining how to do it. So people, if you solve a problem with a nonfiction book, or you create an entertaining experience with a fiction book, don't neglect the fact that some people are going to want more. I mean, look at Harry Potter. There is so much more in the Harry Potter world than the wonderful books that J.K. Rowling has written, including, fancy rides at Universal. You can buy a Harry Potter outfit. You can buy a Harry Potter wand. In fact, you can buy a wand for each one of the characters in Harry Potter. So thinking about merchandising, thinking about other ways to entertain, inspire, or inform people, this is how a business person works. Because as I said earlier, an entrepreneur solves problems at a profit. So some problems you can solve as a gift to the world or in honor of your creativity, but some problems you can be handsomely compensated for. So when anybody is coming to me and they're starting a new business, I always ask them a couple of questions to get really clear. I ask them, what do you really love to do? And what are you also really good at? You don't want to build a business about something you're really good at that you hate to do now. So combining those two things, what do you love to do and that you're really good at? And then who is that worth the most to? So filtering it through who it's worth the most to, what I love to do and I'm really good at is working with words and ideas and businesses. And who that's worth the most to is thought leaders or would-be thought leaders who would like help, creating their book and their message and building a business. So what I do now is through the spoken author method, I interview people, we create their book that becomes the lead magnet for their business, and it monetizes their already existing or their new business. And if you do that, you can easily generate 7 figures from a book, even if you give the book away for free, because Amazon is the #3 search engine. And most people who are looking on social media or on YouTube, they want answers for free. But most people who are looking on Amazon have their credit card already pre-installed and they're quite happy to pay $20 or $40 or whatever to get a book that will solve their problem or inspire them or entertain them. And then if you add to the back of the book, here's how to contact me, here's when my next event is, or I'm a coach or a consultant or a speaker, or here's my next book. Like think about the marketing funnel. And most people don't think about the marketing funnel, but if you do think about it, you can easily turn a loss leader book into something that makes, a handsome living. For example, one of the authors that I admire very much, she's a self-published author. His name is Mark Dawson. He said basically he can give his first book in the series away for free because of the read through to the next books in his series. He makes $60 for every book he gives away for free. So that would be an example of a straight up author. But in my example, like people who read my books, Turn Words into Wealth, they can sign up for a business breakthrough session with me at bookcall.biz. And then they're already pre-qualified because they already read my book and they want help launching as a thought leader. And then the next step is $5,000.
Oh.
So then I help them, from there and give them VIP service. So again, that's another way to turn a book into a profitable business. And then, of course, with the fantasy books, Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, if they get made into a series, that would also be very profitable and enjoyable.
Yes, definitely. Is it good to go in with the mindset? Because I know some people they love to go with the mindset of this is going to be this and that. And this is like you have all these different big dreams. Is it good to walk in with dreams like that? Or is it kind of good to just in a way, like we were saying, if it comes, it comes. Like just if it's successful, it's successful. If it's not, if it's not, what's the right mindset to have when going into that?
That is such a good question. I think it is very good to, as best you can, dream big, paint a big picture for your life and for the results of your creative projects. Like Jim Carrey, apparently, he'd written himself a check for $10 million, I believe, and he carried it around in his wallet. And whenever he would get discouraged about his acting career, which did not flourish at the beginning, he would get out that check and he would go, "Yes, I'm the person who gets paid $10 million for acting in a film." But at the same time, you need to be holding on to it loosely. You need to be inspired by your vision, hold greatness as the outcome, and yet not be so committed to it showing up in one particular way that you get locked onto that and maybe miss out another way that the universe is trying to support you.
Yes, I absolutely, because I know people, they have a big dream, but then if there's a detour that takes them the wrong way, then it's okay, that's it, it's done. Like I'm done, like everything that I've wanted is not going to happen. But the way I saw it was that you were setting yourself up in a way that expecting that it was going to happen. Versus I'm just going to work very, very hard and try and make it happen the best I can. And I mean, like, there's not that it can't be done. I mean, like we always use the example of Harrison Ford was a carpenter at 30 years old, who I think Jim Carrey was homeless at one point too.
Yeah.
So like everybody has gone through so much. Oprah Winfrey went through quite a bit. Like she was fired from her first job, and then next thing you know, here she is. As soon as someone says Oprah, they're talking about Oprah Winfrey. Like it's a big deal. So it's almost like just don't give up, basically. Like that's, I mean, like it's gonna be difficult. It's not always guaranteed. Do you see it as it's a the way I see it sometimes, it's a combination of hard work and a little bit of luck? Like that's kind of a good way. Like that's what some people that I know of talk about, saying it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of dedication, it's a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears. But then there's also a little bit of luck in there where it's okay, one person's going to get it, everybody was good, and you got lucky. Like, how do you see that?
Well, I wrote about this in Turn Words into Wealth and also the book Thought Leader Launch. Like one of the things I noticed in my own life is that every setback that I ever had, which I thought, okay, that's it, I'm done, whatever, fell flat on my face, later in some way turned out to be a gift. I learned something, or I grew, or later I combined two things to make a great business success. But what I learned fairly recently, I took my MBA in 2015 and I studied neuroscience. And one of the things that I was blown away to learn is about the neuroscience of the brain. One of the things that is interesting is that struggle grows your brain. Specifically, it grows myelin, and myelin can be enhanced and grown at any time, at any age, but it only grows through struggle. If you're in the comfort zone doing things that are easy for you, you are not increasing the size of your brain. When we struggle right at the very edge of our ability, maybe like 2% or 4% more than you think you could do. So we're not going twice as hard as what's possible, but we're right at that very edge of what's possible. We're practicing really hard. We're trying to write the best book or hit the best tennis shot or ski down the hill a little bit faster. We are then growing more myelin, and the difference in speed that can happen over time is shocking. So usually if it's what fires together wires together. So if it's a thought that you haven't had or a physical activity you don't frequently do, you haven't laid down the tracks in your brain. So your brain will be like a billy goat trail up a mountain. But if you continue to do that thing, whether it's a physical thing or a mental thing, you start to lay down basically pavement in the form of myelin. And if you keep doing it, eventually you get a superhighway. So you could turn out like David Goggins. The difference in speed is between 2 miles an hour and 200 miles an hour or more. So the more we work at the very edge, at the very limit of our capacity, the more we struggle, the more we are actually enhancing our capacity and our abilities. So this relates to our conversation because we want to push ourselves right to the edge. And when we do so, like Oprah or Harrison Ford or David Goggins, we actually create a better brain. And we can use that to do physical and mental activities. And so I think this is why we so admire people who've gone through devastating things, but as they come through it, they're actually building a better brain. And we can all choose this. We can all choose to be defeated when life hands us a lemon, or we can choose to squish it, make our lemonade.
That's a great way to put it. I love that. It almost makes you develop like a tougher skin kind of thing where it's you're almost ready that life's gonna suck. There's gonna be lots of points in life that you're gonna feel down, but it's how you deal with it, which is the main thing. Like I mean, like through life we're gonna go through people, we're gonna go through loss, we're gonna go through like anything. There's lots of stuff and curveballs that life will throw your way, but it's how you deal with it and how you learn from it and how you move on from it. That's really what will define you too. And so kind of just going back to some of your writing and stuff, how would you say like fiction? I mean, like you write. I mean, like a lot of fiction and nonfiction. How would you say that fiction influences real life problems? Like, how would you say it almost influences it or helps us grow as people?
Oh, I love this question, but I just want to comment on David Goggins for just a moment as we're talking about him, because he talks about callousing his mind. And I love that he put it that way. And he really leans into the struggle as the valuable thing that he's getting. And incidentally, when he first had his book, Can't Hurt Me, and he took it to an agent, the agent wanted him to go with a publisher, but he didn't want to lose control of his story. So he decided to self-publish his book. And the agent scoffed at him and said, "Oh, if you self-publish your book, you'll be lucky to sell, 5,000 copies." But he's actually sold 5 million copies of his own self-published book, and now as a second New York Times bestselling book. So that's a really good example for those people in the audience who are thinking, "Oh, self-published books are not good and don't sell." Look at David Goggins' example, and there's certainly many other examples. So if you have the book and you push it and promote it and talk about it, who knows? Maybe it could be David Goggins and sell 5 million copies. That is an incredible amount of book sales. Anyway, how fiction affects reality. I really love this question. One of the things I'm hoping to do with my fantasy series, Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, is bring forth the idea of censorship for people to consider. Now, it's a fun, entertaining action kind of book, like a Percy Jackson or a Harry Potter.
I was
But
thinking Percy Jackson. As soon as I was looking at the ball, I was like, Percy Jackson. It just gives me Percy Jackson vibes,
yeah,
which is great.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad that you love that. So the evil witch in it, or the evil queen, is actually a censor. And so censorship or cutting people's tongues out is what the evil people do in this fun fantasy book. Really, it is a fun fantasy book, even though that's dystopian. Because when I wrote it starting in 2020, and of course, COVID was happening there, and there was all these, the cancel culture seemed to be birthed right in front of my eyes. And I just really believe strongly that it's very important that we don't give up free speech. I mean, words are the way that we think. Words are the tools that we think with. They're the symbols that we think with. And if we keep changing what words mean, depending on the political power of the moment, we are handicapping our ability to think. And like Jordan Peterson, who I admire very much, like Jordan Peterson says, we think so that our thoughts can die instead of us. That's the benefit of thinking. You think it through and then you go, yeah, that's a very bad idea. Let's not do that.
Exactly. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Good angel devil on each shoulder.
Exactly. So I wanted to have a fun book, but that would also encourage people to just consider what is their opinion about free speech. For example, um, right now in Canada, as you probably know, Frankie, they're defining hate speech. Well,
Hmm.
let's just think about that for a moment. Like, who gets to define what hate speech is? Like, I'm all for love, but hang on a moment. Like in 1510, Copernicus proposed the idea that the sun was the center of the universe, not the earth. And that was an offensive idea at that time. In 1382, John Wycliffe proposed the idea that everybody should be able to read the Bible, even peasants, and he translated the Bible from Latin into English. And that was a radical, disreputable idea at the time. In the 1920s, the idea that women should be able to vote was offensive to many people. In 1865, the idea that slavery was wrong was abhorrent to the powers that be. And even more recently, in 2015, the whole concept of gay marriage being legalized was an idea that was unacceptable to many people earlier. So, like Lord Acton said in 1887, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I think we're getting on very dangerous ground when we allow the powers that be to define which ideas are so offensive that they can't even be spoken. I would rather trust people to discuss ideas and to be able to discern the false ideas from the good ideas once they speak it out and debate it and argue it. Universities used to be about debating ideas. It used to be that you would be assigned one side of the idea to argue and that you should be able to argue both sides of a case. And you, by doing so, you're building your brain, you're building your way of thinking. So one of the fun things I think in my fantasy series is this underlying theme of censorship. And I think there have been so many books that have brought ideas out for people to think about and discuss, and they have helped change the world, such as Fahrenheit 454, which is about burning books. That's the temperature at which books burn, you know? So, and it's shocking to me the number of books that have been banned. Just ordinary books, great books, books that used to be required reading. Um, what do you think? Have you been changed by a book like Animal Farm or Fahrenheit 453 or anything like that?
Um, Honestly, this is kind of funny. As a kid, Diary of a Wimpy Kid was such an inspiring series in a way that I was reading it as I was living it kind of thing. Like I was kind of growing up. Like I started reading the books when, of course, the Wimpy Kid starts middle school. That was kind of when I started reading them too. So it's kind of funny that we were like growing up with him in a way and kind of just seeing things through his perspective. And it's kind of like, yeah, like that makes sense. That makes sense. And but then there's also that sense of when you look back on it now, especially in today's day and age, you're like, oh my god, like he was kind of egotistical, you know, like he was very self-centered, he was very like just at times not a good person. So
Uh-huh.
you kind of learned from that in a way where you're like, okay, like it's a series that's grounded in reality, but I don't want to be like Greg because of what he's doing at some point. So that's one that really stood out in particular. There's probably a whole bunch more
Oh, that's
that
good. How do you think that impacted you? Did it help you through your middle school years?
it made it more it made it relatable in a way because I mean like you know I think we all kind of go through that at some point in maybe not just middle school but any point in life where you want to be known, you want people to think you're awesome and stuff like that and just be the cool kid, but sometimes it's just that's just you're just you, like that's all there is to it. And
Yeah.
that's kind of some of the realities that he has to face in the book, and also some realities that we all kind of have to see ourselves with certain things where we're not going to have everything just handed to you. You're going to have to work for stuff. You're going to have to go to school and get a job and stuff like that. That's just how life is. And that's kind of what, you know, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, that's kind of what it is, where he just thinks it's going to come handed to him. But unfortunately, you know, we all learn that's not how it goes. Unfortunately, as much as amazing as it would be, that's just not realistic, you know?
Right. Well, another example of how fiction changes reality is the book To Kill a Mockingbird by
Mm.
Harper Lee, which was published in 1960 and has been banned in a number of places now. But if you really understand this book, the author is trying to bring forward the issue of racial injustice to help people think about it and decide that it's wrong. And it's ridiculous to ban the book because it's bringing forth an issue to think about. Instead, some people say, what do you want to prepare the child for the road or the road for the child? And I say, let's not try to pave all the roads so there's no bumps. Instead, let's make ourselves and the readers and children strong enough to understand that a book like To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee or Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe, that they are actually trying to bring forth shine a light on this political issue of racial injustice. They want the reader to go, that's wrong. They're not promoting racial injustice. They're just shining a light on it. But even songs like the song Roar by Katy Perry, I think that can be quite moving and really make us self-affirming and empowerment song for girls and women, or the movie The Matrix, which was 1999. That movie, I think it's part of our culture now. We think about, oh, we're part of the Matrix. We already mentioned 1984 by George Orwell, which is a dystopian novel, and I think a very good novel. And it explores about doublethink and censorship. It's a much more dystopian novel than my fantasy series, but it's exploring some of the same issues about the government controlling speech, or even Black TV series. That some of those episodes are very thought provoking. I think thought provoking is good. We want to think. We want to be challenged and encouraged to think and decide for ourselves, where do we come down on various issues. We don't want to just read or watch pablum that feeds us what we already think. That's not a way to grow. That's a way to death. And as a final example of how fiction changes reality, Gene Roddenberry's TV series Star Trek, I think, did a wonderful job. It debuted in 1966 and was very popular and very entertaining. It's like what I aspire to be popular and entertaining and well loved and very enjoyable entertainment. But Gene Roddenberry had a very progressive view of promoting diversity and equality and cooperation. And so it was a big deal that Uhura just appeared on the flight deck. And yes, she was wearing a miniskirt, so there was that. But it was a woman, and a Black woman at that, in a position of power, just because that was made normal through Star Trek. So I think there are so many ways that books, movies, and even songs can influence our thinking.
And that's why it's so important too, because it's like I don't think it was really till like the pandemic when it really started to just set in just how important that stuff is when you're not getting new movies and stuff like that, and you're just thinking about uh like you don't really realize, I guess, like just how important they are and how impactful they are. And then once you start like during the pandemic, like you're going back and you're rereading a bunch of books, you're rewatching a bunch of movies and stuff like that. That's when you start to see like just how important things are to you, like certain aspects of your life.
Exactly.
I find that's when it really started to set in, like around the pandemic, when we're like, like let's not take things for granted. We got great lives, and without fiction, without movies and TV and books and everything, we wouldn't have that. We wouldn't have that ability to relate to it on that level, or learn from it or grow from it. And that's why I think fiction is very very needed. And and anything, really anything, fiction or in the arts, is very very needed in our lives. Like we can't imagine. It's almost like we can't live without eating, we can't live without sleeping, we can't live without paying the bills, you know what I mean? Like, and fiction is like that in a way too, because it really helps us uh take a good look at ourselves, kind of thing, and just realize how much worse it could be.
Exactly right, Frankie. What I really love about fiction is that the stories help us see ourselves in the characters as the movies do as well. And we can decide to lift up our standards and become like the hero in the book. Or we can also be warned of the dangers of becoming like the villain in the book or in the movie, right? So I think that nonfiction books can also be aspirational and inspire and encourage us, but they're more informative. Whereas fiction allows us to try on different life choices and see how that fits. And they also, I think many books have the hero's journey as part of their story. And the hero's journey is certainly part of most popular movies as well. And heroes are made through adversity. If there was no adversity, there would be no hero. And this is another thing I hate about the cancel culture. I don't think it's right to try to eliminate all adversity or all struggle from life. What is good is try to get stronger, be wiser, be more, eat right, exercise, become the hero of your own life. Become the hero of your own journey. Don't whine and complain about the bumps along the way. And certainly, if we try to control life to make everybody else say just exactly what we already think and believe, well, then the earth would still be the center of the universe. Women would still not be voting. Blacks would still be in slavery, and gay marriage wouldn't be legal. Like, just think it through. I think in any moment of time, you think, well, obviously that idea is false. But 100 years later, it could be the stupidest idea ever. And if we
Yes, exactly. Times change.
how do they change? They change by us thinking it through, talking about it, debating it, arguing it, trying it on. And maybe something really good falls out of a really crappy idea, but maybe in part of that discussion, 10% of it led to a huge breakthrough. Like Elon Musk might jump up and down and go, ah, yes, let's go to Mars.
Oh, Elon. Gotta love that guy.
He's pretty extraordinary.
Oh, it's that?
I said he is pretty extraordinary, that's for sure.
He certainly is. He very ambitious too, I must say. Aurora, we could go on and on about this stuff. I really am having a great time here. But I just want to say first off, congratulations on all of your success. Congratulations on what you are still doing. You're still doing lots of stuff. Yeah, your list of achievements is already so big and you're just adding to it. And so very excited to see what you do next. Do you have any final words about of course the Kickstarter starting on July 1st?
Yeah, so I'd love for people to come and check out my Kickstarter. They can go there right now. They can go to magicmysteryandthemultiverse.com. You do need to have a Kickstarter account, but they're free to set up if you don't already have one, and they're kind of fun to follow the latest, greatest inventions and newest books and such not. And then you just click the green ribbon that says notify me on launch, and you'll be notified when it launches. And then you'll be able to see, you don't have to buy anything, you can just be notified. But then you'll be able to see all the special things, and you can look at all the amazing digital artwork. And who knows, maybe you'd like to buy a copy of the special hardcover exclusive to Kickstarter copy of The Secret Multiverse Academy, which is the brand new book number 2 that's coming out in the Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse series. But for those of you that were more interested in the nonfiction, then I recommend that you jump on over to Amazon or wherever you like to get your books and grab the book Turn Words into Wealth. It tells you those 7 different ways to make 7 figures from a book by thinking through your back end and what is your business. And if you're not a Kickstarter fan, you can also go to Amazon and grab book 1, Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse on Amazon right now.
Awesome. That's awesome. You're doing great. I love this. Just everything about this conversation, everything about you just excites me so much and just really, helps fuel your creativity. Just hearing people like you, how you do it and just seeing people like you just getting it done. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much, Aurora, for coming on. Best of luck to you, and let's definitely stay in touch.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Frankie.
Absolutely. Guys, we are going to take a short break. We will be right back. But until then, this is Frankie and Aurora signing off. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Crooked Entertainment Show. That was me and Aurora Winter. Aurora, thank you so much for coming on today. And, guys, be sure to check out her books, Turn Words into Wealth and the Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse series. And just very, very honored to have her on here. And also be sure you can follow her on Twitter at Aurora Winter MBA. Twitter, X, I don't care. It's Twitter. I'm not gonna get into that whole spiel about that again. So anyways, yeah, so moving on to our first solo segment today. I'm going to be talking about probably one of my favorite movie franchises in the last decade, which is of course the Knives Out movies. I love this franchise. I, of course, covered it a few episodes back where we just got some news about Wake Up Dead Man, which is the new one. They just started filming it. Super, super excited. But as soon as that episode came out and as soon as I finished recording it, we had all this news come out about it. So we have a lot more people coming on board for this one. We, of course, have Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc. I mean, you can't do a Knives Out movie without him, who also in the first look pictures that Ryan Johnson put on his social media, he has some longer hair, longer beard. I'm super excited to see what we do with that. And I mean, Daniel Craig owns this role, so if you're going to do a Knives Out movie and you have to replace Benoit Blanc, you're better off just not doing it at all, because Daniel Craig is Blanc. But we have some more people joining the cast. We have, now this is an insane cast. I of course talked about, I think it was Josh O'Connor and Glenn Close in the last episode. But we got a lot more people now. We have Josh Brolin, who's Thanos. We have Mila Kunis. She, of course, Meg on Family Guy, and Ted, among other things. That 70s show. Jeremy Renner, the guy who beat a snowplow. So, I mean, here he is, almost gets killed by a snowplow, and then here he is doing another movie. Fantastic. Not many people can say that. Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott, Kaylee Spaney, Daryl McCormick, and here's one I'm excited about, Thomas Hayden Church. I think he's insanely underrated. Thomas Hayden Church, of course, he was Sandman in the Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man 3, and of course he came back in No Way Home. I thought he was hilarious in Daddy's Home. He had a role in Daddy's Home. He was real funny in that as well, and I'm super excited to see. The thing I love about this franchise too, it's not just amazingly written, amazingly shot, amazingly all that stuff, but it has this insane cast that in any other franchise, it might seem like just typecasting. Oh, just throw them in that role, throw them in that role. But Ryan Johnson finds a way to do it, gets all these big Hollywood names to come in and do it. Like the first one, you had Chris Evans, you had Jamie Lee Curtis in there, you had what's his name? The guy who played the victim. He passed away now. I can't remember his name. I'm freezing on his name. Christopher Plummer, I think it is. Yeah, Christopher Plummer. I looked that up just to make sure. But of course, yeah, there's him, Christopher Plummer. Christopher Plummer. He died, I think, probably not too long after that, or like within the last couple of years. But anyways, so we have him, and then next movie we had friggin' Dave Bautista. We had Kate Upton. We had Edward Norton. Just wild. We had an insane cast for both movies, but it doesn't feel typecast at all. Like, they all fit the role so perfectly well. Like, even Chris Evans' character, I wasn't sure, because I'm so used to seeing him as Captain America. I'm like, can I buy him as like a spoiled son of a bitch kid, or like, not kid, but just an asshole, straight up asshole. And he absolutely owned it. I think it's one of his best roles he's ever done. And it just all fit to a T. Like, it was just so damn perfect. And even Glass Onion, like, it was just even better. Edward Norton as Miles was excellent. I thought he was probably one of the best parts of one of, if not the show stealer of the movie, either him or, of course, Daniel Craig or Janelle Monáe. So, anyways, yeah, we get a fantastic cast, and I'm sure Wake Up Dead Man is going to be. It will probably be just as good. Maybe it'll be better. Who knows? I mean, the first Knives Out was honestly like close to a 10 out of 10. That movie was excellent. Glass Onion was still fantastic. It wasn't as good as the first one, but it was still great. It's a movie that improved on second viewing, because when I first watched it, I had some problems with it, like a few problems. Like I thought the twists and stuff like that were a little meh. Or spoiler alert for Glass Onion, I'll say a bit. I thought it was too obvious that Miles was the killer, but then as it kind of developed and I watched it again, it's like, oh well, he's supposed to be stupid. Like, to me, it was just so obvious that it was Miles. I don't know why, but then it was like that was kind of the point. It was just he was just an idiot, and that was the whole point of it. So upon second viewing, I appreciated it a lot more, but still not as good as Knives Out, but it was excellent nonetheless. It just gives us that Agatha Christie vibe type of movies, and I love those types of books. I am a sucker for good murder mysteries. And so Wake Up Dead Man, I mean, just looking at the cast, like Mila Kunis, Thomas Hayden Church, Jeremy Renner, Josh Brolin, like what the hell? And some people might see that and just think, oh, it's just going to be typecast, isn't that? Well, the other two may beg to differ. You had friggin' Captain America in there, and he absolutely stole the show. Maybe if they do a fourth one, Robert Downey Jr. can come in. You know what I mean? Like we'll get some fantastic actors. But I kind of wanted to just give my thoughts. How long can this franchise go on for? Because you look at any other like murder mystery like series and stuff like that, like Miss Marple or her or what are some of the other ones? Hercule Poirot, like people like that. Like you wonder how long you can go for. And enemy with Miss Marple. I mean, you've had so many people play her over the years. Or like Sherlock Holmes too, you know what I mean? So it just begs the question: how long can they keep the Knives Out franchise going, and how, you know what I mean? Like is it good enough to warrant like another 20 films? My opinion, as long as Ryan Johnson and Daniel Craig are still on board, I think it's well worth it to do, because I know Ryan Johnson has said he has so many ideas for more Benoit Blanc stories. He's a big sucker for murder mysteries as well too. So I think as long as he's involved and as long as Daniel Craig's involved, I think you could keep this franchise going for a while. Like you really, really could. You could get another, I'd say, 10 movies out of this, honestly. I mean, Netflix had so much faith in this franchise that they bought the rights for, I think it was like 200 million or something like that. And that wasn't even for like going towards their budget. That was just them purchasing the rights. Like it was basically like an auction. They just said, we'll give you $200 million for the rights to the franchise. So that's how much faith they have in it. And if Knives Out and Glass Onion are any indicators, and I think Wake Up Dead Man is going to be another just stellar film, I'm psyched. I'm super psyched. And I do think they can get, I mean, like maybe, I think we're definitely going to get Knives Out 4. I think we will definitely get like a 4 and 5. And I think they do seem pretty committed to making more as long as the demand is there and people want to do it. And just think of all the success that it's got. I mean, it's got nominated for Academy Awards and everything. Yeah, keep it going. I say just keep it going for as long as you can, as long as it's possible, as long as Ryan Johnson has the drive to do it, because I mean he is very, very talented. People don't give him enough credit because I know, of course, there was a Star Wars fiasco. Ryan Johnson directed the best episode of TV in my opinion, which was Ozymandias from Breaking Bad. So he's just absolutely fantastic at what he does. And what I love about the Knives Out franchise is that it's a writer director making these films, and it's kind of got that you can tell that this is just the vision of one man. That's kind of what I liked about those franchises, or this franchise in particular, and that's what I like about any type of franchise that does that, where it's just like Breaking Bad was like Vince Gilligan's. He wrote, directed, it was just his vision. You know what I mean? Like there's just something about it, and Knives Out gives off that vibe. And I think this is one of those franchises where it could be like Marvel, where they just keep it going, as long as it doesn't dip in quality or anything, as long as Ryan Johnson can still come up with good ideas, and as long as we still got Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc. But anyways, that's my thoughts on that. I'm definitely curious to see where everybody else stands on that. How long do you guys think the Knives Out franchise can go on for? Do you think you could get another 20 films out of it? Maybe another 5? Who knows? We'll see what happens. But as long as they got the good script and they got the good actors, I'm all for them continuing this as long as possible. And I'm super stoked for Wake Up Dead Man. Just seeing this cast, holy shit. And just yeah, I can't wait for it. I can't wait. 2025 can't get here soon enough. So it's probably, honestly, it's probably my most anticipated movie right now of next year. So stoked for it. So stoked to see it. But anyways, guys, be sure to let me know your thoughts on how long Knives Out can go on for and how excited you are for Wake Up Dead Man. And if you haven't seen Knives Out and Glass Onion, what are you doing? You got to check it out. So definitely, guys, be sure to let me know what you think. And so moving on to our next solo discussion, or our second and last solo discussion topic, is probably my second most anticipated movie of the year, Deadpool and Wolverine. It's my second. It was my first, and then once some stuff came out for Joker 2 took the spot for most anticipated. But Deadpool and Wolverine, I've lost track of how many times I've seen the trailer. I've watched the trailer a few times, and I just absolutely love it. It is so good. I cannot wait to see the movie. It's coming out very, very soon, too. Like, by the time this episode releases, I think it's like a month from when it's coming out. We're a month away, so I'm so stoked. But so just going through the trailer and stuff like that, and seeing like ticket sales, they already have like the estimates of how much they think it's gonna make, and if they're correct, it's gonna hit. I mean, I feel confident saying as soon as they said that Hugh Jackman was coming back as Wolverine, I said, yep. It's going to hit $1 billion. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to hit $1 billion. And I know some people will say, oh, but it's a R-rated movie and they don't make $1 billion. It's like, okay, well, tell that to Joker. Joker made $1 billion. Oppenheimer made like 980 million or something like that. So the fact that it's R-rated means nothing. And then also the first two Deadpool movies got like 800 million, I think it was, both, or in that range. So combining that Ryan Reynolds success right now, how good the first two are, and you got Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. He came out of retirement like 10 years later to play Wolverine again. Yeah, it's gonna hit $1 billion. I have no doubt about that. But the big question is this gonna save the MCU? That is the big question that I'm wondering. And when I say that, I know some people might take it out of context and say, "What do you mean? Are you saying it's bad and this and that? The MCU's never been better." Okay, maybe like popularity wise and stuff like that, and financially, it's still going strong. But there's definitely been a big decline since Endgame. Like we talked about that after Endgame, it went from the hype was so real for every single Marvel movie there was, and then after Endgame, it was kind of just you be excited for certain ones. Like after Endgame, I was pumped to see No Way Home. After No Way Home, I wasn't pumped to see any others until Guardians 3 came out. And then after Guardians 3 came out, there's been it's been kind of quiet. And then now Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm super stoked for. And then after that, I'm probably going to be excited for Spider-Man 4 next. But I mean, like the MCU went from you're excited for every single movie, you're watching the trailers to all of them over and over and over again. And then it's just like you're just not as excited for them as you once were. Excuse me. So do I think it's going to save the MCU? If I'm being honest, I don't think it's going to save the MCU. Like that, it's kind of I'm trying to think about how to word this. I don't think it's going to save the MCU in the fact that all of a sudden all the Marvel fatigue and stuff like that, people are just going to forget about it and they're just going to, yay, Deadpool, Wolverine, and I love the MCU again kind of thing. I don't think it's going to be like that, unfortunately. I think it's going to be more so, I don't think you're going to recreate the same hype for Marvel again as like an Endgame or a No Way Home. Now I could be wrong about that. I am super excited to see, the next Spider-Man movie. I'm super excited to see Avengers 5. I am very, very excited, but I don't think you're going to recreate that endgame type hype again. Now, I could very well be wrong. I think once we see more info, once they start filming and we know who's in it and stuff like that, then there's going to be more. But I just think right now, I don't think even Deadpool and Wolverine is going to, because I hear people saying this is going to save the MCU and everything and all that. And I'm like, do I think it's going to save it, or like it's not beyond redemption? I'm not saying that the MCU was just dead. Like, you're not going to recreate any sort of hype no matter how hard you try. I don't think it's in that. It's like that. But I think yeah, I'm trying to find the best way to word this, is that it's hard to get excited again after a certain, like, it's kind of a roller coaster of like bad movie, good movie, bad movie, good movie, good movie, bad movie, good movie, as opposed to before where it was just you were excited for everyone and everyone just blew you away. There were a few bumps in the road, like there were a few movies that weren't the greatest before Endgame, like Thor: Dark World and stuff like that. So I don't think you're going to recreate that kind of hype again, but I think it's going to get people talking. Like No Way Home had people talking. Guardians 3 had people talking. And there was Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of the Black Panther. I do like Black Panther, don't get me wrong. But I thought it was kind of weird that that Black Panther, it was like considered like the best MCU movie of all time. I liked it. I just don't think it was the greatest one of all time. And then Wakanda Forever had big hype. Like I like the movies a lot, but I mean, if I had to choose that over like Guardians, I choose Guardians. So yeah, that's my thoughts. I don't think it's gonna save it. It's gonna get lots of people talking. It's gonna make lots of money, but I don't think it's gonna like get that Marvel like Endgame level hype again for the MCU. I just think it's kind of hard to recreate that kind of hype. So unfortunately, I don't think it's. I think it'll save it in a way, but it's not gonna. It might resuscitate it a bit. I guess maybe that's the word I'm looking for. I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. It's gonna resuscitate it a little bit to an extent of it will get people talking. It'll make lots of money, and people will know that, okay, they can still make good Marvel movies. I'm still confident that it's going to kick ass. I know some people might be hesitant and think, oh, the movie might disappoint. No, I think it's going to be great. I have complete faith that Deadpool and Wolverine is going to kick all kinds of ass. It's gonna succeed, but just not recreate that Endgame level hype. We might see it again for Secret Wars, but we'll see. But either way, I'm super stoked for Deadpool and Wolverine. I just cannot wait to see it. It's gonna be so insane. The trailer just gets me hyped. I'm super excited to see Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. I think that's probably the biggest. I mean, I was always excited to see Deadpool for Deadpool, but Wolverine was I can't wait to see him back. It's gonna be so awesome. Logan, I think, is one of the best superhero movies of all time, and it was a perfect ending. And as long as they don't interfere with that, I think it's a completely different variant of Logan, which is good. And I'm just super hyped for Deadpool and Wolverine. So definitely, guys, be sure to let me know your thoughts on that. And we're going to call it for the show there today, guys. I want to thank my guest, Aurora Winter. Thank you so much for coming on, Aurora. And, guys, be sure to follow her on Twitter at Aurora Winter MBA, and check out her books, Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, Turn Words into Wealth, and all that good stuff. So, and AuroraWinter.com. Be sure to go on her website as well, too. And so thank you guys so much for listening to the show today. Hope you're having a great summer so far. Stay safe, make good choices, and we'll see you next episode. So until then, guys, this is Frankie signing off. Have a great week and a great summer and a great life. And I make it sound like I'm dying. I'm not dying. Don't worry. Just have a great summer, guys. I'll see you next episode.